Spring training. That magical time of the year when you finally get to celebrate the baseball's back. Thankfully, just in time to be able to justify why you don't give a shit about March Madness. What's better than being able to watch your absolute favorite players execute perfect fundamentals on every play? You can eat food that's the size of a small child, maybe even is a small child. And remember that, oh yeah, there are more than 3 cities in Florida. So sit back, grab a cold one, watch absolutely meaningless baseball, and welcome to Rain Check.
Every March is a special time for baseball fans. After a long winter of trying to avoid eye contact with Peyton Manning's forehead, fans can rest easy knowing baseball is here to stay until October.
Or sometimes early November, but that's not too often. Okay, well, it's sort of often.
Well, the games may not matter for more than just bragging rights for Diamondback fans. Spring training is still a great opportunity to see players in action in their new uniforms. Recently, however, spring training has been a platform to see which teams will make one last free agent splash.
This year was the Cubs when they re-signed free agent Dexter Fowler on February 24th, a full week after the first pitchers and catchers started reporting to camp. While these late signings can certainly add a bit of dramatic flair to the start of spring,
they have tremendous impacts on the players. By the time most of their peers have already picked out what color snakeskin shoelaces they'll be wearing,
these players will have practicing on empty high school fields. That, before they stepped on it, was most well known for when Timothy Oliphant filmed the Lost Force Sandlot movie there. Or something, I'm pretty sure. Never actually saw it. Looks good though. And the problem with late signings has only been exaggerated by compensation picks. For a long time now, compensation has been a big part of free agency in baseball, and for good reason,
as it attempts to close the gap of competitiveness between large and small budget teams.
Say for example, John Doe is one of the Mariners' better pitchers, and the Mariners would like to keep him, but they simply don't have the money. So as soon as free agency starts, John signs with the Yankees. Now the Mariners have to settle for a worse pitcher as the result.
For obvious reasons, an unregulated system would ensure that the richest teams always had the best players.
And unless you're Billy B and the A's, you'd be shit out of luck. But put a compensation system into the mix, and you have your solution.
Now if the Yankees or any other team wants to sign John, they'll have to cough up a draft pick.
Some of that tremendously impacts the value of a player. And for a player like John, it might encourage him to stay with the Mariners. Previously, compensation was managed under an A, B, and C category system of ranking players, where the best players going into free agency become qualified. After 2012, however, MLB switched to a more simplistic and ubiquitous method. Now, a player no longer has to be defined as one of the top players at his position in order to be entered into the compensation system. So long as the player spends the entire previous season with one team before entering into free agency, they become eligible for an optional qualifying offer, which is the average of the top 125 salaries from the previous year. If a player accepts the offer, they return to their previous team for 1 year on that salary. But if they reject, they become a free agent who will cost their new team a draft pick. The concept of a compensation system is to obviously increase equality between bigger and smaller budget teams, but at the cost of decreasing a player's freedom to sign wherever, and thereby encouraging them to stay with their old teams. The current system, however, provides little benefit to the teams losing players, and additionally hurts players more than is fair. When a high-budget team like the Yankees sign a qualified player and lose their draft pick, the player's original team doesn't get that draft pick as compensation. Instead, all of their teams simply move up a spot. Then, teams that lost a player are given a bonus draft pick in the next round. For players, meanwhile, the system is even more costly, and is downright set up to punish players looking for the best deal. Take for example when Dexter Fowler re-signed with the Cubs in February. When the deal was announced, everyone was taken by surprise because it was assumed that Fowler already had a deal in place with the Orioles. In a case such as this one, where it was unanimously reported that Fowler was going to the Orioles, no one quite understood what could have possibly led to the deal falling apart so quickly. After settling back in with the Cubs, however, the reason came out, and it was because of compensation. The Orioles, as per Fowler, were insistent upon receiving their own compensation for losing a draft pick. They wanted Fowler to forfeit a speculated $8 million from their proposed contract. Negotiations between the two quickly fell apart soon afterwards, once Fowler began asking for his own compensation, for the Orioles' compensation, for the Cubs' compensation. And while things may have appeared to still work out for Fowler, after all, he did re-sign with the Cubs for 1 year and $13 million. When you look at what he could have gotten, 3 years, $35 million, and then add the $8 million that the Orioles wanted Fowler to give up, the current compensation system has effectively cost Dexter Fowler $30 million in guaranteed salary, all in the name of protecting small budget teams. Which, by the way, the Cubs are definitely not. Fowler and his agent Casey Close are excessively furious about how the whole situation unfolded. While Close may blame the media and the Orioles for causing the deal to fall apart, the entire situation could have been avoided had a functional compensation system been put in place by Major League Baseball. And Fowler isn't the only one. Giovanni Gallardo, Kyle Loesch,
Stephen Drew,
and the always smiling Ian Desmond have all been negatively impacted by the current system. What a new system would look like is unknown. In fact, all that is known right now is that the current one doesn't work, and so we need a new one. I know, it's more complicated than trying to figure out who Kanye is talking to in I Love Kanye. Is it Kanye, old Kanye, or new Kanye? But once the current collective bargaining agreement expires on December 1st of this year, Rob Manfred, the owners, and the Players Association will all have to sit down and have a real conversation about not punishing players in order to keep the power balance of the league in order. Wait a minute. If revolving power is the key, why does the MLB just hire George R.R. Martin? He's great at that! Actually, no. Never mind. I can see that getting in a hand pretty quickly.